My truck died right there in front of the Riverside Hotel, which I took as the universe's idea of a joke. And the universe ain't that funny. I was waiting on the tow, sitting in my dead Ford with the windows down, when I saw her, my wife, Linda. 42 years of marriage, and I knew that red coat from 100 yards. She was laughing, her hand on some man's back, not casual, not friendly, the way she used to touch me when we were young and everything still had spark to it. They walked into that hotel like they owned the place, like I wasn't sitting 50 feet away with my hands shaking on a steering wheel that suddenly felt like it belonged to someone else's life. The tow truck driver had to ask me 3 times if I was okay. But that was only the beginning of understanding just how long I'd been blind. That Tuesday morning started like every other one for the past 4 decades. I was up at 5:30, coffee brewing before Linda even stirred. Same blue ceramic mug I'd used since Reagan was president. Same creak in the kitchen chair when I sat down with the paper. Same rhythm we'd settled into, comfortable as old boots. Linda came down around 6:15, already dressed nice. Too nice for grocery shopping, but I didn't think much of it then. She'd been doing her Tuesday trips for months, said she liked getting to the store early, beating the crowds. "You need anything while I'm out?" she asked, pouring herself coffee. I looked up from the sports section. "Nah, I'm good." She was wearing perfume on a Tuesday. That should have been my first clue, but you don't go looking for smoke when you think your house is fireproof. She kissed my forehead on her way out, hadn't done that in months, and I felt this little flutter of hope. Maybe we were finding our way back to something. Maybe that cold distance I'd been feeling was just winter and spring was coming around again. "Be back by lunch," she said. The door closed soft behind her. I finished my coffee, went out to the garage, had some work to do on the truck. She'd been running rough lately, missing on the third cylinder. Figured I'd spend the morning with my hands in an engine, the way I liked it. 43 years I worked the railroad machine shop before I retired. A man doesn't stop knowing his way around machinery just 'cause he's got gray hair. Got about an hour in before I realized I needed a part from O'Reilly's. Wiped my hands, fired up the truck. She coughed but caught, and headed into town. That's when the engine quit on me. Just died, right there on Riverside Avenue. No warning, no sputter. 1 second running, next second nothing but the sound of my own breathing getting loud in the cab. I tried the ignition, nothing. Called the tow from my cell. Danny said he'd be there in 20. So I sat. It was a nice morning, actually. October sun, leaves just starting to turn. The kind of morning that makes you feel like the world's in order, you know? Everything in its right place. The Riverside Hotel sat across the street. Mid-level place, nothing fancy, the kind of joint traveling salesmen use or folks in from out of town for weddings. I'd driven past it 1,000 times, never gave it much thought, until I saw the red coat. She was crossing the parking lot with him. Younger guy, maybe mid-40s, built like he spent his lunches at the gym, wearing one of those expensive watches that catch the sun. They were laughing about something, and her hand, Linda's hand, was resting on the small of his back. Familiar, easy, the way you touch someone when you've touched them before. My chest went tight. They walked right into the lobby, didn't look around, didn't hesitate. I sat there in my dead truck and watched the door close behind them. The tow truck pulled up maybe 5 minutes later, felt like 5 hours. "Hey, Frank," Danny said, climbing out. "He's a good kid, 30, maybe 35. I taught his older brother how to rebuild a carburetor back when the boys were in high school. What's she doing to you?" I couldn't answer for a second. My throat had gone dry. "Frank, you all right?" "Yeah," I managed. "Just, the engine quit. No warning." Danny hooked up the truck, talking the whole time about fuel pumps and ignition coils, but I wasn't hearing him. I was seeing Linda's hand on that man's back. I was seeing them walk into that hotel like it was routine, like they'd done it before, like maybe they'd been doing it for a while. "Want me to drop her at your place or take her straight to the shop?" Danny asked. "Shop's fine." He gave me a ride home, talked about his kid's soccer game, some trouble with his mother-in-law, normal life things. Things that felt like they belonged to a different universe than the one I was suddenly living in. When he dropped me off, Linda's car was still gone. I went inside, made another pot of coffee even though my hands were shaking too bad to hold the cup steady. Sat at that same kitchen table. Same chair, same creak. But nothing felt the same. Maybe I'd seen it wrong. Maybe it was her cousin visiting from Toledo. Maybe my eyes were finally going like Doc Morrison had been warning me about. Maybe Linda came home around 1:30 with 2 bags from Target, dish soap, paper towels, a new bath mat. Truck breakdown? She asked, seeing Danny's business card on the counter. Yeah, I said. Fuel pump, probably. She nodded, put the groceries away, hummed something while she worked. I watched her move around our kitchen, and I thought, I don't know this woman anymore. Or maybe I never did. I didn't say anything. Not that day, not the next. I kept thinking maybe I'd imagined it or misread it, or maybe there was some explanation that'd make sense if I just waited long enough. That's what you do when you've been married 42 years. You give the benefit of the doubt, you trust. Or maybe you're just scared of what you'll find if you start digging. Wednesday came and went. Linda was normal. Made dinner, watched Wheel of Fortune with me, went to bed at her usual time. I lay there in the dark, listening to her breathe, wondering if she was asleep or just pretending. Thursday morning, I went to pick up the truck from Danny's shop. Fuel pump, just like I thought, $260. You look tired, Frank, Danny said when I paid him. Not sleeping great. He nodded like he understood, but he didn't. How could he? His wife probably didn't have hotel room receipts in her coat pocket. Yeah, I'd found them Wednesday night when I was hanging up Linda's jacket, habit I've had since we were newlyweds. Taking care of her things. Being a good husband. The receipts were in the inside pocket. Riverside Hotel, Executive Suite, $347, dated last Tuesday. Our joint credit card. I stood there in the closet holding that slip of paper, and something in my chest just cracked. Not broke. Cracked. Like ice on a pond when the temperature drops too fast. She'd charged it to us. To our account. My railroad pension money paying for her. And that gym rat bastard to... I couldn't even finish the thought. I put the receipt back exactly where I'd found it, hung up her coat, went to the garage and sat in the dark for 2 hours. Friday morning, I went through the mail like always. There was the credit card statement. I opened it, even though Linda usually handled that stuff. She'd been managing our finances for years, said it was easier if one person kept track. 6 charges. Riverside Hotel, going back 4 months, always on Tuesdays. I did the math in my head. That's what us machinist types do. We calculate 6 times 347, over 2 grand, my pension money, money I'd earned crawling under locomotives in July heat, fixing track equipment in January cold that'd freeze your fingers if you weren't careful. She'd been spending it on him for 4 months. I was sitting at the kitchen table with that statement spread out in front of me when Tyler showed up. My grandson, 19 years old, home from community college for the weekend. Good kid, working on his auto mechanics degree. I've been teaching him the trade, same way my daddy taught me. Hey, Pops, he said, letting himself in the back door. Grandma said I could borrow her car to... He stopped, looked at my face. You okay? Fine, I said, folded up the statement. Keys are on the hook. He stood there for a second, like he wanted to say something, then grabbed the keys and left. I heard Linda's Honda start up, then die. Start again. Kid was flooding it, nervous driving. The engine finally caught, and he pulled out. I sat there alone with that credit card statement and thought about 42 years of marriage. Thought about the house we'd bought together in '83, the mortgage we'd paid off penny by penny. Thought about our son, Tyler's dad, and how we'd raised him in this kitchen, at this table. Thought about Linda's mother's funeral and how I'd held her while she cried, and how she'd said she didn't know what she'd do without me. Thought about a lot of things that used to be true, maybe still were true once, before they weren't. The back door opened. Tyler came back in, face white as chalk. Pops, he said. His voice was shaking. I found something in Grandma's glove box. He held out a hotel key card, plastic, white, Riverside Hotel printed on it in blue letters. We looked at each other. There's more, he whispered. Receipts, a bunch of them. I wasn't snooping, I swear. I was just looking for the insurance card, and they were right there in the... I know, I said. He sat down hard in the chair across from me. You know? Saw her go in there Tuesday, with him. Tyler's face went through about 6 different emotions in 3 seconds. That's why your truck. You were right there when. Yeah. Pops, His voice cracked. He's 19, but right then he looked about 12. She wouldn't. Grandma wouldn't do that. She did, son. He put his head in his hands. The kid worshipped Linda. Thought she hung the moon. This was breaking something in him I didn't know how to fix. The Honda pulled into the driveway. Linda was home early. Tyler looked at me, panicked. Did you put the keycard back? Show me, I said. He handed it to me. I looked at it. Just a piece of plastic, really. Such a small thing. Such a big betrayal. The back door opened. Tyler, Linda said, surprised. Didn't know you were. She stopped, saw her grandson's face, saw mine, saw the key card on the table between us. For just a second, less than a second, her mask slipped. I saw fear flash across her face. Raw fear. Then it was gone, replaced by confusion, then concern. What's wrong? She asked, playing it, still playing it. I picked up the key card, held it up. Want to tell us about your Tuesdays, Linda? She didn't answer right away, just stood there in the doorway with a Target bag in one hand and her purse in the other. Her face went through this whole performance, confusion, then hurt, then something that looked almost like relief. Frank, she said quietly, set the bag down. Can we talk? Alone? Tyler looked at me. I nodded toward the door. Go on, son. This ain't your burden. He left, but I heard his truck idling in the driveway. Kid wasn't going far. Linda sat down across from me, folded her hands on the table like she was praying. Maybe she was. It's not what you think, she said. I almost laughed. That's so. He was helping me with something. Helping you spend $2,000 of my pension money? Her face went pale. You went through the statements? It's my money, Linda. Our money. Yeah, I went through them. She closed her eyes, breathed out slow. When she opened them again, there were tears there. Real ones, I think. Hard to tell anymore. I was going to tell you, she said. I didn't know how. Tell me what? That I've been unhappy. For a long time. The words hit harder than I expected. Not because they were surprising. I'd felt the distance between us for years. But because hearing it out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. So you found someone else, I said. It's not like that. Derek, he listens. He makes me feel like I matter. Derek. Now the bastard had a name. And I don't? You're a good man, Frank. You've always been a good man. But when's the last time we had a real conversation? When's the last time you looked at me and really saw me? I wanted to argue, wanted to defend myself. But sitting there looking at her across that table, I realized she had a point. Somewhere along the line, we'd stopped being husband and wife and started being roommates who shared a bed. I'd thought that was just what happened in long marriages. Thought companionable silence was enough. Guess it wasn't. So what now? I asked. I don't know. She wiped her eyes. I don't want to lose you, Frank. I don't want to lose this. She gestured around the kitchen. Our life. Everything we built. But you want him too. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. I need time, she said finally. Time to figure out what I want, what we want. I should have told her to pack a bag right then. Should have called a lawyer. Should have done a lot of things. Instead, I said, how much time? I don't know. A few weeks. I'll end it with Derek. And I promise, I just need to do it right. Looking back now, I can't believe I bought it. But when you've loved someone for 42 years, you want to believe they're capable of choosing you, even when all the evidence says otherwise. Okay, I said. Relief flooded her face. She reached across the table, took my hand. Her skin was warm, familiar. Thank you. Thank you for giving me another chance. That night, she made pot roast, my favorite. The next morning, she kissed me goodbye before her Tuesday trip, but this time, she said she was going to see her sister in Toledo. Needed to clear her head. I nodded like I believed her. For 3 days, she was the Linda I remembered. Attentive, present. She laughed at my jokes, asked about my day, even suggested we take a weekend trip to the lake come spring. I let myself hope, let myself think maybe we could find our way back. Tyler called me Saturday morning. "How are you doing, Pops?" "Better," I said. "I think maybe she's really ending it." There was a long pause on the other end. "That's good," he said, but he didn't sound convinced. Sunday night, I was hanging up Linda's coat, old habit, and found another receipt. Riverside Hotel. That afternoon, while I'd been watching the Bengals game and thinking about lake trips, she hadn't ended anything. She'd just gotten better at lying. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay there in the dark listening to Linda breathe, that receipt burning a hole in my mind. Sunday afternoon. While I was watching football and eating the sandwich she'd made me, she was with him. The sandwich tasted like ashes now, in memory. Monday morning, I got up before dawn. Couldn't stand lying there anymore. Made coffee, sat at the table, watched the sun come up through the kitchen window. Linda came down around 7, smiled at me. "You're up early." Couldn't sleep. "You feeling okay?" She put her hand on my forehead like I was a child. The concern in her voice sounded so genuine. That's what got me. How easy the lying came to her now. "I'm fine," I said. She made herself toast, hummed while she ate it. I watched her and thought, who are you? After she left for work, I did something I'd never done in 42 years of marriage. I went through her things. Not just coat pockets this time. Drawers. Her car. The little desk in the corner where she kept her papers. That's when I found them. Pension disbursement forms, with my signature on them, except it wasn't my signature. Close, but not quite right. The F in Frank had too much loop, and I always crossed my T's low. Whoever forged this crossed them high. Linda had forged my signature. My hands started shaking so bad I had to set the papers down. There were 6 forms, all from the last year and a half, all authorizing direct deposits to a joint account I didn't even know we had. She'd been stealing from me. Not just using our regular account, she'd set up a whole separate account and had been funneling my pension money into it. Money I'd earned with 43 years of back-breaking work. Money that was supposed to carry us through retirement. I thought about the hotel charges, thought about Derek and his expensive watch and his gym membership and his BMW, thought about who was really paying for all of it. Me. I was paying for my wife's affair. The room started spinning. I sat down hard on the bed, her side of the bed, and tried to breathe. This wasn't just adultery anymore. This was theft. Fraud. Federal fraud, probably, given it was pension money. I needed help. Needed someone who understood this stuff better than I did. I called Roy, Linda's brother. He'd been a postal inspector for 30 years before he retired. If anyone could make sense of this, it was him. "Frank?" he answered. "Everything okay? Need you to come over." "Soon as you can. Be there in 20. I made another pot of coffee. Tried to steady my hands. Failed. Roy showed up 18 minutes later. Came in through the back door without knocking. We'd been family long enough for that. He took one look at my face and said, "Jesus, Frank, what happened?" I showed him the forms, showed him the credit card statements, showed him everything. He sat at that kitchen table for 20 minutes, going through each piece of paper with the careful attention of a man who'd spent 3 decades investigating mail fraud. Didn't say a word the whole time, just studied and calculated and made notes on a legal pad he pulled from his truck. Finally, he looked up at me. His face was grim. "Frank, this is bad." "I know." "No, I mean this is federal. Forging signatures on pension disbursements. That's not just divorce court bad. That's criminal bad." My stomach dropped. "You sure?" "I'm sure." He tapped the forms. "And look at these dates. The first one's from 18 months ago. Frank, this started way before the affair." I stared at him. "What?" "The hotel charges only go back 4 months. But she's been stealing from your pension for a year and a half. Derek's not the beginning of this. He's just the latest chapter." The kitchen went very quiet. I could hear the clock ticking over the stove, could hear a car pass outside, Could hear my whole understanding of my marriage crumbling like old plaster. She's been planning this, Roy said quietly. For a long time. She's been setting up an exit strategy. Exit strategy, I repeated. The words felt foreign in my mouth. Roy reached across the table, gripped my shoulder. Brother, I'm sorry, but you need to know what you're dealing with here. This isn't a woman who made a mistake. This is a woman who's been robbing you blind and covering her tracks. I looked at those forged signatures, at my name written in someone else's hand. What do I do? I asked. Roy's jaw tightened. First thing, you get yourself a lawyer, a good one. I didn't go to a lawyer that day. Or the next. I know Roy thought I should have moved faster, but I needed time to think, to process what I was looking at. 42 years of marriage, and it had come down to forged signatures and hotel receipts. I spent Tuesday in my workshop. Didn't answer when Linda knocked on the door, asking if I wanted lunch. Didn't come in when she called me for dinner. Just stood there with my hands on the workbench, staring at a piece of oak I'd been meaning to turn into a jewelry box for her birthday. Her birthday was in 3 weeks. I'd been planning to surprise her. The irony wasn't lost on me. Wednesday morning, I got up early again, made my coffee. But instead of sitting at the kitchen table, I took it out to the porch. Needed air. Needed space that didn't smell like her perfume and lies. The step creaked under my weight. Third one from the bottom, always did. I'd been meaning to fix it for 5 years, never got around to it. One of those things you live with so long you stop noticing. But I noticed it now. Noticed everything now. The peeling paint on the porch rail, the loose gutter over the garage, the crack in the driveway that had gotten wider over the winter. All the things I'd let slide while I was busy being comfortable, while I was busy not paying attention. Doris Kensington waved at me from across the street. She was opening up her photo shop, last one in town that still developed film. Most folks use their phones these days, but Doris said there were still enough old-timers like us who appreciated a real photograph. I waved back. Doris had been widowed about 5 years ago. Her husband Jack had been a good man, honest. We used to fish together sometimes, him and Roy and me. Jack died of a heart attack 2 weeks after his business partner cheated him out of his share of their company. Never got to clear his name. Never got justice. Doris had told me once, crying at the funeral, that the betrayal killed him faster than any heart condition could have. I understood that now. Linda came out around 8, dressed for work. Stopped when she saw me on the porch. You're up early, she said, carefully, like she was testing ice that might crack. Couldn't sleep. Frank, we should talk. About… Not now, I said. Kept my voice level. Calm. I'm not ready. She stood there for a long moment. Okay. When you're ready then. She left for work. I watched her car disappear down the street. Then I went inside and made a phone call. Roy, I'm ready. Give me that lawyer's number. His name was Bill Henderson. 60-something, former prosecutor, office above the hardware store on Main Street. I met with him Thursday afternoon while Linda was at work. I brought everything, the credit card statements, the forged pension forms, the hotel key card Tyler had found. Bill spread it all out on his desk, put on his reading glasses, and went through it the same way Roy had. Methodical, thorough. Mr. Dalton, he said finally, I'm going to be straight with you. This is solid. The forgery alone is prosecutable. Add in the pension fraud, and your wife is looking at serious legal trouble. I don't want to destroy her, I said. I want what's fair. Fair is you getting your money back. Fair is you not being the victim here anymore. He leaned back in his chair. Here's what I recommend. We file for divorce. We file a police report on the fraud. And we freeze that joint account so she can't drain it before the divorce is final. My stomach churned. Police report means charges. Means the possibility of charges. The DA decides whether to prosecute. But Frank, you need leverage here. She's been stealing from you for 18 months. You think she's going to just hand it back and apologize? I thought about the Sunday receipt, about her making pot roast while planning her next hotel visit, about her hand on my forehead, fake concern in her voice. No, I said. I don't reckon she will. Then we do this right, we do it legal. And we make sure you come out of this with your dignity intact. Dignity. Funny word for it. I'd lost that the second I saw her walk into that hotel. But maybe I could build something new, something honest, even if it hurt. All right, I said. Let's do it. Bill nodded, started pulling forms from his drawer. I'll need you to sign some things. And Frank, from here on out, don't discuss any of this with your wife. Don't tip her off. Can you do that? I thought about 42 years of telling Linda everything, of sharing every thought, every worry, every plan. Yeah, I said, I can do that. Because apparently, keeping secrets was something we both knew how to do now. The papers were drawn up by Friday: divorce petition, fraud complaint, motion to freeze the joint account. Bill said we'd serve her on Monday, give me the weekend to prepare myself. I didn't know how you prepared yourself for something like that. Saturday morning, Tyler showed up with breakfast sandwiches from McDonald's, stood on the porch holding the bag like he wasn't sure if he should come in. Grandma's working today, he said. Thought maybe you could use some company. I let him in. We ate at the kitchen table without talking much. The kid looked tired. Hadn't been sleeping either, probably. Pops, he said finally, what are you gonna do? What I have to. That's not an answer. I looked at my grandson, 19 years old. His whole life he'd looked up to Linda and me like we were some kind of example. High school sweethearts who made it work. Old-fashioned love that lasted. Now he was learning that even 50-year love stories could have rotten foundations. I'm filing for divorce, I said. Monday. He set down his sandwich. And the other stuff? The money stuff? That too. She could go to jail. Maybe. That's up to the DA, not me. Tyler was quiet for a long minute. My dad's gonna lose his mind. My son, Linda's boy. He lived out in Arizona now, worked construction. We talked maybe once a month. He'd never been good at staying in touch, even less so after his own divorce went bad. Your dad's got his own problems, I said. This ain't his fight. He's gonna blame you. You know he will. I did know. My son had always been closer to his mother. Always took her side when we disagreed. This would tear that relationship right down the middle, and he'd land on her side of the crack. I'd lose them both, wife and son. The weight of that sat heavy in my chest. Can't be helped, I said. Tyler shook his head. This is so messed up, Pops. A month ago, everything was fine. Now it's all... It wasn't fine, I said quietly. We just didn't know it wasn't fine. There's a difference. He looked at me with something like understanding. Kid was growing up fast. Shame it had to be this way. Sunday I went to church. First time in 3 weeks I'd actually made it inside instead of sitting in the parking lot. Linda hadn't gone to church in 2 years, said she didn't feel connected to it anymore. I'd gone alone, told myself it was fine. People drift from faith sometimes. Now I wondered what else she'd been drifting from while I wasn't paying attention. Pastor Jim did a sermon on forgiveness. Of course he did. The universe and its jokes again. After the service, he caught me by the door. Frank, good to see you. Haven't had a chance to talk in a while. Been busy. He nodded, looked at me with that quiet way pastors have when they know something's wrong but won't pry. Well, my door's always open. You need to talk. You know where to find me. Appreciate it. I drove home the long way, past the Riverside Hotel. There was a BMW in the parking lot. Expensive, gold trim, vanity plate that said, DRKF it, Derek's car. Sunday afternoon. While I was in church praying for wisdom I didn't have, Linda was probably in that hotel with him. I pulled into the lot, sat there looking at that BMW, thought about going inside, thought about catching them, making a scene. But Bill had said not to tip her off, said to let the papers do the talking. So I took a picture of the license plate, took a picture of the BMW, took a picture of the hotel entrance with the timestamp visible. Evidence. That's what Bill called it. Evidence. I called it the death of hope. When I got home, Linda's car was in the driveway. She was in the kitchen making dinner, humming again, happy. There you are, she said when I came in. I was starting to worry. The lie came so easy to her now. Or maybe it always had, and I just hadn't been paying attention. Went for a drive, I said. Well, dinner's almost ready. Meatloaf. Your favorite. I looked at her standing there in her apron, wooden spoon in hand, looking every bit like the woman I'd married 42 years ago, looking like home, but she wasn't home anymore. Maybe she never had been. I'm not hungry, I said. Think I'll work in the garage for a bit. Her smile faltered. Just for a second. Frank, are you sure everything's... I'm fine, Linda. I walked out before she could say anything else. Went to my workshop and closed the door. Monday morning, Roy was picking me up at 8. We'd go to Bill's office together. Bill would file the papers. The sheriff would serve Linda at work. By Monday afternoon, Linda would know everything, and there'd be no taking it back. I sat on my stool in the dark garage, surrounded by tools I'd collected over a lifetime, and wondered if doing the right thing was supposed to feel this much like dying. Monday morning came too fast and too slow at the same time. I was up at 4, couldn't pretend to sleep anymore. Made coffee in the dark kitchen, hands shaking so bad I spilled grounds all over the counter. Cleaned it up, made a fresh pot, sat at the table watching the numbers on the microwave clock change. 4:15, 4:30, 4:45. Linda came down at 6 like always. Stopped when she saw me sitting there in the dark. Frank, why are you... Couldn't sleep. She turned on the light. I watched her face in the sudden brightness, saw the worry there, but couldn't tell anymore if it was real or performance. You've been so distant lately, she said. Sat down across from me. Talk to me, please. I looked at her. Really looked. At the lines around her eyes that hadn't been there when we got married, at the gray in her hair she colored every 6 weeks, at the wedding ring on her finger that didn't mean what it used to mean. Nothing to talk about, I said. Frank, you better get ready for work. Don't want to be late. She stared at me for a long moment, then got up and left the kitchen. I heard her moving around upstairs. Shower running. Blow dryer. Normal morning sounds that felt like they belonged to someone else's life. She came down at 7:15, dressed nice, kissed the top of my head on her way out. I love you, she said. I didn't answer. Couldn't get the words past the lump in my throat. The door closed behind her. Roy pulled up at 7:45. I was waiting on the porch with a folder of documents, wearing my good slacks and the button-up shirt I usually saved for funerals. Felt appropriate somehow. You ready for this? Roy asked when I got in his truck. No. He nodded. Oh, that's probably the right answer. We drove to Bill's office in silence. The town was waking up around us. Coffee shop opening, hardware store raising its flag, Doris unlocking her Photoshop across from the Riverside Hotel. She waved, I waved back. Simple gesture, simple kindness. Those were the things that mattered, I was learning. Not grand promises or 42 years of history, just small, honest moments between people who gave a damn. Bill was waiting for us in his office, had everything laid out on his desk like a surgeon preparing for an operation. Morning, Frank, Roy. He shook our hands. Coffee? No thanks. All right then, let's go over this one more time. He sat down, put on his reading glasses. I'm filing the divorce petition at 9. Sheriff's Department will serve Linda at her work around 10:30. The fraud complaint goes to the DA's office. They'll decide whether to prosecute. And the motion to freeze the joint account should be approved by end of day. I nodded. My mouth had gone dry. Frank, I need to be clear with you about something. Bill leaned forward. Once we do this, there's no taking it back. Linda's going to be angry. Her lawyer's going to be aggressive. Your son's probably going to take her side. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. I know. And you're sure this is what you want? I thought about the forged signatures, about the hotel receipts, about her hand on Derek's back, about her saying I love you this morning like the words still meant something. I'm sure, I said. Bill nodded, stood up. Then let's go do this. We drove to the courthouse. Bill filed the papers while Roy and I waited in the truck. Took maybe 20 minutes. Felt like hours. When Bill came back out, he gave me a thumbs up through the windshield. It was done. Roy drove me home. You want me to stick around? Keep you company? Nah. Appreciate it, but I need to be alone for a bit. Call me if you need anything. I mean it, Frank. I will. I went inside. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I walked from room to room like I was seeing it for the first time. The couch where we'd watched TV for decades. The dining table where we'd raised our son. The bedroom where we'd shared a bed for 42 years. Memories in every corner. Good ones and bad ones and all the ones in between. I ended up in my workshop, sat on my stool, didn't turn on the light, just sat there in the dimness, smelling sawdust and motor oil and all the years I'd spent building things with my hands. My phone buzzed around 11. Text from Roy. Sheriff just served her. It's done. I stared at those words for a long time. It's done. But it wasn't done. Not really. It was just beginning. I thought about calling Tyler, thought about calling my son in Arizona, thought about doing a lot of things. Instead, I just sat there in my workshop and waited. Linda would be home soon. She'd be furious or crying or both. She'd want explanations, want to know how I could do this to her. Want to know why I didn't try harder to save the marriage, like I was the one who'd destroyed it. I heard a car pull up around 1:30. Not Linda's Honda, a BMW. My jaw tightened. Derek. He'd brought Derek here. To my house. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out. Sure enough, there was that gold-trimmed BMW in my driveway. Linda was in the passenger seat, talking fast, gesturing. Derek was behind the wheel, looking agitated. Then they both got out and started walking toward my door. I felt something shift inside my chest, something cold and hard and final. I'd been quiet long enough. I'd been patient long enough. I'd been the understanding husband, the reasonable man, the one who waited for explanations and gave second chances. I was done waiting. I opened the workshop door and walked out to meet them. Time to end this my way. They were halfway up the driveway when I stepped off the porch. Linda saw me first. Her face was red, makeup streaked from crying. Derek was right behind her, all gym muscles and expensive cologne. Frank! Linda's voice was shrill. What the hell did you do? I stopped at the bottom of the steps. Didn't say anything. Just looked at her. They served me at work, in front of everyone. My boss, my coworkers, everyone saw. She was shaking. Fraud charges, Frank. You're accusing me of fraud? You forged my signature on pension forms, I said. Calm. Steady. That's the definition of fraud. I was protecting our future, making sure we had our future, I laughed. Couldn't help it. Linda, you've been stealing from me for 18 months to fund your affair. That ain't our future. That's yours. Derek stepped forward, puffed up his chest like roosters do before a fight. Listen, old man. Don't. I pointed at him. Don't you dare talk to me on my property. Your property? Derek smirked. Pretty sure half of it's hers, which means I got every right to. I pulled an envelope from my back pocket, held it out to him. This is for you. He looked at it, suspicious. What is it? Cease and desist from my lawyer. Also copies of fraud charges Linda's facing, and photographs of your car at the Riverside Hotel during business hours when you told your boss you were at client meetings. I paused. I sent copies to your wife, and your employer, and your church. The color drained from his face. You did what? I did my homework, son. Found out you've done this before. Pattern of targeting older women with assets. Found out your business is failing and you've got debt up to your eyeballs. Found out Linda's pension money was helping you cover your BMW payments. Linda gasped. What? Derek, you said... Shut up, Derek snapped at her. That's when I saw it. The real him, not the charming guy with the gold watch. The desperate one, the small one. You need to leave, I said. Now. Or what, old man? Derek took a step toward me. What are you gonna do? I didn't move. Just stood there, calm as Sunday morning. I don't need to do anything, Derek. Your wife's already filed for divorce. Your boss put you on leave pending investigation, and Linda here is looking at fraud charges that make her a liability you can't afford. Derek's jaw clenched. You don't know who you're messing with. I'm messing with a 45-year-old coward who thinks beating up on old folks makes him tough. He lunged at me. wound up this big, wild haymaker that had all his gym rat strength behind it, but no technique, no control. 43 years in machine shops teaches you spatial awareness, teaches you how to move in tight spaces around dangerous equipment, teaches you precision. I sidestepped, just shifted my weight. That's all it took. Derek's momentum carried him right past me. He stumbled, tried to catch himself, went straight into Linda's rose bushes. Thorns caught his jacket, his face. He yelled, flailed, went down hard. I didn't help him up. Just stood there and watched him scramble out of the bushes, bleeding from a scratch on his cheek, dirt on his expensive slacks. "Get off my property," I said quietly. "Don't come back." He looked at me, then at Linda. Something ugly crossed his face. "This ain't worth it. She ain't worth it." "Derek?" Linda reached for him. He shook her off. "Good luck with your fraud charges, sweetheart. Hope you've got a good lawyer, 'cause I ain't testifying for you." He stormed to his BMW, engine roaring to life. Tires squealed as he peeled out of my driveway. Linda stood there watching him go, just stood there, hands still outstretched like she could call him back. Then she turned to me, her face crumpled. "Frank, please, we can fix this." "We can—" "No," I said, "we can't. 42 years, that has to mean something. It meant everything, right up until you threw it away." She started crying. Real tears this time, I think. "I made mistakes. I was lonely and stupid and I made mistakes. But don't I deserve a second chance?" I thought about the forged signatures, about the hotel charges, about her making pot roast and saying, "I love you," while planning her next Tuesday with Derek, about her walking into that hotel lobby like I didn't exist. "You had your second chance," I said, "and your third and your fourth. Every time I asked if something was wrong and you said no. Every time I gave you the benefit of the doubt. Every Tuesday you came home and lied to my face." "So that's it. You're just giving up on us?" "I'm not the one who gave up, Linda." Neighbors were watching now. Mrs. Peterson across the street. Old Bill Hartley 2 doors down. Doris standing in her shop doorway. Let them watch. Let them see. Linda grabbed her purse from where she'd dropped it. "I need to get some things. Clothes, take what you need." "But Linda?" I waited until she looked at me. "By Wednesday, the locks will be changed, and if you set foot on this property after that, I'll call the sheriff." She stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe we both were. She went inside. I heard her moving around upstairs. Drawers opening, closet doors, the sounds of a life being dismantled. 20 minutes later, she came out with 2 suitcases and a garbage bag full of clothes. Wouldn't look at me, just loaded everything into her Honda and drove away. I stood in my driveway and watched her taillights disappear. The street was quiet again. Normal. Like the last hour hadn't just blown up 42 years of marriage. Doris waved from across the street. Just a small wave. A gesture that said, "I see you. You're not alone." I waved back. Then I went inside my house now, not ours, and made a pot of coffee. My hands weren't shaking anymore. The next 3 weeks moved like cold molasses. Lawyers talking to lawyers. Forms to sign. Accounts to separate. All the machinery of undoing a life you built together. Linda took the plea deal. Misdemeanor fraud, 18 months probation, full restitution of the pension money she'd stolen. Bill said I could have pushed for more. Felony charges, possible jail time. But that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted my dignity back. I wanted what was mine. I wanted her to face consequences without me becoming the kind of man who destroys people out of spite. There's a difference between justice and vengeance. Took me 68 years to learn it, but I learned it. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday. Of course it was a Tuesday. The universe and its sense of humor. I signed the papers in Bill's office. Linda wasn't there. We did it separately. Couldn't be in the same room anymore. The house would be sold, proceeds split 50-50. Fair, even though she'd stolen from me. Even though she'd destroyed everything. Some things you do because they're right, not because they feel good. "How you holding up?" Bill asked after it was done. "Still standing," I said. "That's something." Yeah, it was something. Tyler helped me move into the new place. Small apartment near the community college. 2 bedrooms, galley kitchen, living room barely big enough for my recliner. After 40 years in a 3-bedroom house, it felt like a shoebox. But it was honest. Every inch of it was honest. "This is gonna be good, Pops," Tyler said, setting down a box of kitchen stuff. "Fresh start." "Yeah," I said. Looked around at the bare walls, the empty shelves. "Fresh start." That night, I unpacked my blue coffee mug. Set it in the cabinet. Some things you keep. The wedding photo I'd taken from the house, I put it in a box in the closet. Couldn't throw it away. That would be denying it had ever been real. But couldn't look at it either. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Week later, Roy stopped by with his fishing gear. "Thought you might want to hit the lake Saturday. Weather's supposed to be nice." "Yeah," I said. "That sounds good." We went. Didn't catch much. Didn't matter. Just sat in his boat drinking beer and not talking, the way men do when words would just get in the way. On the way back, Roy said, "You did right, Frank. I know it don't feel like it, but you did. Thanks. And for what it's worth, I'm proud to call you brother. Even if my sister turned out to be—" He stopped. "Well, you know." I did know. Thursday evening, there was a knock on my door. Doris, holding a casserole dish covered in foil. "Thought you could use a home-cooked meal," she said. I invited her in. We ate together at my small kitchen table, tuna casserole, still warm, the way my mother used to make it. "How's the shop doing?" I asked. "Slow, but steady," she smiled. "Still got enough old-timers like us who appreciate real photographs." We talked about small things, safe things, the weather, the new stoplight they were putting in on Main Street, her grandson's little league team, normal conversation, no drama, no betrayal, just two people being decent to each other. When she left, she said, "I'll come by next Thursday, if that's all right." "I'd like that," I said, and I meant it. Friday afternoon, I was in the apartment complex's parking lot, changing the oil on my truck. Old habits die hard. When Tyler pulled up in his Honda, the one I'd taught him to maintain, the one he kept running smooth as silk now, all on his own. "Pops, you gotta see this." He was grinning, excited about something. He led me to the little garage bay the complex had. Opened the door. Inside was an engine on a stand, completely rebuilt, every part cleaned and reassembled with precision. "You remember that carburetor that quit on you, outside the Riverside?" "Yeah. I kept it, rebuilt the whole thing." He gestured at the engine. "Wanted to show you I learned something from everything you taught me." I looked at that engine, at the work my grandson had put into it, at the care and attention in every bolt, every seal, every connection. "That's good work, son," I said. My voice came out rough. "Real good work. You taught me that. You taught me how to fix things that are broken." He paused. "And you taught me something else too these last few weeks." "What's that?" "That being a man ain't about never getting hurt. It's about how you handle yourself when you do get hurt, whether you let it make you bitter or better." I looked at my grandson, 19 years old and wiser than I'd been at 40. "Your grandma made her choices," I said. "They ain't got nothing to do with you. You understand that?" "I do now." He put his hand on my shoulder. "You gonna be okay, Pops?" I thought about my small apartment, about Doris's Thursday casseroles, about Roy's fishing trips, about this boy in front of me, carrying forward what I'd tried to teach him, about being alone but not lonely. "Yeah," I said. "I think maybe I am." That night, I sat on my new apartment's little balcony. It wasn't much, just enough room for a chair and a small table. But I could see the sunset from there, could hear the evening sounds of the neighborhood settling in, could smell somebody's barbecue, could hear kids playing in the parking lot. Life, continuing, like it always does. I held my blue coffee mug, still warm from dinner, looked out at the orange sky turning purple at the edges. My phone buzzed. Text from Tyler. "Love you, Pops. Proud of you." I texted back. "Love you too, son." Across the parking lot, a woman was teaching her daughter to ride a bike. The little girl wobbled, caught herself, kept pedaling, falling, and getting back up. That's what we do. That's all we can do. I took a sip of coffee, watched the sun sink lower. Tomorrow, I'd wake up in this new place, make coffee in this new kitchen, start this new life. It wouldn't be easy. Some days would be hard. Some days I'd miss what I thought I had. even knowing it was built on lies. But I'd handle it, same way I'd handled everything else, with dignity, with honesty, with my head up, because at the end of the day, that's all a man's really got. 3 months later, I was standing in my little kitchen on a Sunday morning, making coffee in that same blue mug when I realized something. I was okay. Not happy exactly. Not the way I'd been happy when I thought my marriage was solid and my future was secure. But okay in a different way. Okay in a way that didn't require lying to myself. The apartment had become home, small but mine, honest walls that didn't hold secrets. Tyler came by twice a week. We'd work on engines together, talk about school, about life, about nothing important and everything important all at once. Doris still brought casseroles on Thursdays. We'd started playing cards after dinner, gin rummy, mostly. She beat me more often than not, and I suspected she was counting cards, but I didn't mind. There's comfort in routine, in knowing someone's going to show up when they say they will. Roy and I fished every other Saturday, caught some, lost more. Didn't matter. It was about the sitting together, the quiet, the understanding that sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead us to the best things we didn't know we needed. I heard through the grapevine that Linda moved to Columbus, living with her sister, working part-time at a craft store. Derek's wife took him for everything in the divorce, served him right. I didn't take pleasure in it, but I didn't feel bad about it either. Some folks get what they deserve. That's just how it goes. My son called me last week. First time in 2 months. Conversation was stiff, awkward. He didn't apologize for taking his mother's side, and I didn't ask him to, but he asked how I was doing, and I heard something in his voice. Not forgiveness exactly, but maybe the beginning of understanding. We'd get there, or we wouldn't. Either way, I'd be all right. That's the thing about hitting bottom. You learn what you're made of. You learn who shows up and who doesn't. You learn that dignity isn't something people can take from you. It's something you give away or you keep, and that choice is always yours. I'm 68 years old. Got maybe 20 good years left, if I'm lucky. And I'll be damned if I'm going to spend them pretending or settling or accepting disrespect just because it's easier than standing up. Life's too short for lies, too short for people who don't honor you, too short for anything less than honest. So here's what I'd tell anyone going through something similar. Don't mistake silence for weakness. Don't mistake patience for stupidity. And don't ever let someone convince you that calling out wrong is the same as doing wrong. Stand up for yourself, even when, especially when, it hurts like hell. Because at the end of the day, you got to live with yourself. Might as well make sure you can look that person in the mirror. I planted tomatoes yesterday. Got them in containers on my little balcony. Tyler helped me set them up, showed me some technique he learned in a horticulture elective. Think they'll make it, Pops? He asked. I looked at those small plants, roots just taking hold in new soil. Yeah, I said. I think they will. Some things just need honest ground to grow in. Give them that, and they'll surprise you with what they become. I take my coffee out to the balcony most mornings now. Watch the sun come up. Listen to the world wake up around me. It's quiet, simple, real. And you know what? That's enough. Church bells ring in the distance. First Methodist, same as always. I still go most Sundays. Sit in the back pew. Don't talk much to folks, but I nod. They nod back. Small kindnesses, small connections. It's enough. So if you're out there dealing with betrayal, with family who don't honor you, with people who mistake your goodness for weakness, here's my advice. Document everything. Get good counsel. Stand your ground. And remember that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. Respect those who raised you, sure, but respect yourself more. And know that sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is let them face the consequences of their choices. That's not cruelty, that's love, the hard kind, the kind that costs something. But it's worth it, every single time. The coffee's still warm, the sun's still rising, and I'm still here, still standing. And that, friend, is something.